Hello, my name is Francesca Toni, and I've been working in KR throughout my academic life. In my mind, the challenge that we should be focusing on at present is about developing theories and systems that can marry symbolic approaches for knowledge representation and reasoning with data analytics, for example, by statistical and neural machine learning and human-oriented sciences and engineering, so that we can obtain systems that humans can beneficially use and want to use. Examples include neurosymbolic machine learning, as well as explainable AI, which is about building explanations for the outputs of machine learning and other methods. So the need for explainable AI has recently emerged as very pressing within the broad AI landscape. This is mostly due to the fact that in AI there is a prevalence of opaque black box machine learning techniques such as deep learning. They're used to analyze unstructured data such as images, text, and speech. And their opacity is a big hurdle for high-stake applications in healthcare, law, and finance. With several collaborators, I've been working in the past 5 years or so at developing explainable AI solutions for a variety of underpinning methods using computational argumentation as the empowering methodology for explanations. I believe KR has an important role to play in explainable AI, and I really hope that some of you will consider joining in. Thank you.
Where do I see KR in 5 years? It's a hope as much as a prophecy, but I see KR closely integrating with neural network techniques, as central to solutions to hard AI problems as deep learning is today. The general approach is called neurosymbolic computing. Henry Kautz has spoken of several ways to architect that combination. There are doubtless more, and that's what I think will fuel progress. What big challenges should the KR community focus on? In general, developing neurosymbolic methods. A specific challenge is deep understanding of documents. Using pre-trained large models like BERT has led to great progress on SQUAD, the Winograd Schema Challenge, and other benchmarks. But NLP systems still can't do what intelligent humans do, untangling different points of view in a news analysis or identifying the themes in a novel. Can systems understand the differences and similarities between Cinderella, Jane Eyre, and Pride and Prejudice? The similarities inherent in a woman's position in society, the differences in a character's power to affect her destiny in the different genres, that's what's needed for deep understanding of text. I don't expect that this problem will be solved in 5 years, but I hope in 2025 to see a great deal of progress on it. What research do I find most exciting right now? Here's one example. Screenplay summarization using latent narrative structure. That's a paper whose first author, Penelope Papalampidis, is a graduate student at University of Edinburgh. It's a paper that's using a combination of symbolic and neural techniques to construct summaries of screenplays. It's a very different problem than summarizing news stories, since information is distributed throughout the play. It exploits a screenplay's deep structure combined with bi-LSTM methods to construct the summaries. It's a preliminary but very exciting work. This is a domain of interest for Park as well, so we are also studying this. I hope that during the next few years, we'll have a chance to talk about all this in person. Technology is great, but sharing ideas in person is even better. Au revoir.
Hello, greetings from Sydney, Australia. I'm Marianne Williams, and this is where I work. That's Quasi, my Lagotto, an Italian water dog. He's my partner, okay? So I have 3 things I want to share with you today. The first one is, when you're looking for a great research problem or area, pick one that's going to have impact. That if you make any progress, it will make a difference. That will sustain you throughout your whole career, and it will form a base from which you can launch into other areas. In my case, it was belief revision. Belief revision, it's a fundamental process that we don't really understand. It's transdisciplinary, requires a little bit of philosophy, psychology, and certainly computer science. So that allowed me to move into robotics, where I've been for the last 20 years, and also a few side hustles like treasury risk management. The thing about fundamental ideas and the computer science you need to solve them is that they're usually fairly general and can be applied in lots of areas. The second one is the importance of partnerships and mentors. Find people who really care about you and your progress and want you to be successful. Not that they're just not going to be an obstacle, they're actually going to help propel you. These people are really necessary. And, you can't expect people to propel you without you sort of generating some value. So you need to find people for whom you can also generate a ton of value, because the more value you generate for them, the more likely they are to help you with your struggles. And the third one is leadership. There is just nothing more important than leadership in this century. And you've just got to get involved. You've got to seize those leadership opportunities. And often you have to create them yourself. And this is where partners and mentors can be extremely valuable, because you can work with them to create new opportunities for leadership. And leadership is needed everywhere. I'm not talking about the traditional view of leadership. It's breaking new ground. It's sort of being a pioneer. It's exciting. It's actually probably the most exciting. So they're the three things, right? Pick problems that matter, where you can make a difference. Find people and surround yourself with partners and mentors who can help you on your journey and that you can generate value for. And leadership, seize those opportunities and go after them. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hi, I'm Gabrielle, and I would like to share my thoughts about the future of KR in the next years with you. I would like to see KR in the next years being very busy, very active, collaborating with very many fields of AI, like for instance, common sense reasoning, NLP or robotics, solving problems concerning knowledge and reasoning, really bringing in its methodological competency within many other areas. And the biggest challenge for me is the connection to machine learning. Not because machine learning is such a hype topic, but because of the cycle of learning, reasoning, revision, coming to know more information, again, learning, reasoning, revision, is for me at the very heart of human intelligence. And I think it's very important really to have a coherent concept for this cycle, which has been fascinating me for so many years, and I've been working on this. And I'm very curious really to understand how human beings really do this cycle of learning, reasoning, and revision with their bounded resources. And I think topics like relevance or kind of local reasoning, what we have now currently being discussed in belief revision with syntax splitting, focusing on the relevant part of the language, are possible ways to deal with this complex cycle. Okay, thank you.
My first contact with artificial intelligence was in the late 80s, early 90s, when I got a job at the Research Institute here in São Paulo. There I first heard about Prolog, expert systems, rules, and knowledge representation. At that time, this was mainstream AI. This is what everybody else was doing. When I was finishing my PhD about 10 years later, the situation was starting to change as machine learning was taking over and attracting a lot of attention. Now, what I see is the need to combine both areas. So we see the rise of explainable AI, which is sort of what we've been doing in KR all the time. Although my own work is mostly theoretical, I've been proving theorems all the time, I've been involved in some practical applications in the areas of law and health. And these are two areas where people don't want to trust black box reasoning. They want to know why conclusions were taken, why decisions were made. So for these areas, what I see as the future is the use of new technologies such as OBDA, ontology-based data access, to be able to reason with symbolic logic on top of big data. So that's connecting what we've been doing all the time with the new technology in AI.
Hi, everyone. I wanted to start by thanking Megan Bienvenue and Magdalena Ortiz, together with our KR program co-chairs, Ezra Erdem and Diego Calvanese, for organizing this fantastic initiative. It's a real honor for me to be included in this group of incredibly accomplished women, all of whom I consider to be friends and colleagues. I also wanted to say hello to everybody in the KR community. I wish we were all sitting together on the beautiful beaches of Rhodes, enjoying this event together, but I hope that you're all safe and well at home and that we'll be together before too long. We were asked to comment on which big challenge KR should be focusing on or what research we find exciting. My short answer is I find it really exciting to revisit our 6 decades of KR insights on common sense reasoning through the lens of recent advances in machine and deep learning. My own research path was influenced by John McCarthy's 1959 paper, Programs with Common Sense, which is generally thought to be the very first published KR paper. In that paper, McCarthy described a hypothetical system called the advice taker, whose performance could improve over time as a result of receiving advice, rather than being reprogrammed. The advice taker program would reason deductively from a body of knowledge, eventually concluding that it should perform an action. It would perform that action and then repeat the cycle. The more general idea that we might create an artificial intelligence that could synthesize programs from a few simple directives is both tantalizing and elusive, and it is one that has occupied me and my students for much of the last 20 years. Children don't just learn from being told and performing inference, as they would in McCarthy's advice taker, or by synthesizing from a specification as classical program synthesis might suggest. Rather, they learn to do from imparted knowledge, advice, and instructions, but also from reading books and from exploration and experience, and our current work uses this as our aspiration. More generally, machine and deep learning have made huge advances over the last 10 years. Largely, they're not exclusively in perceptual classification tasks. However, recently, there have been really exciting advances in learning representations and performing deliberative tasks via machine learning. Our knowledge-based systems have typically acquired their KR through human encoding, with the criticism that the symbols were not necessarily easily grounded in perception. I think there's a huge opportunity for the AI community to benefit from our KR community's 6 decades of research in knowledge representation and reasoning, now combined with advances in machine learning, to learn representations and mechanisms for common sense reasoning grounded in perception and embodied experience. I'd like to encourage our KR community to embrace this challenge. Hi, everybody. Me again. For those of you who may be early in your careers and you're not really sure what you want to work on yet, my advice to you is to work to your strengths and to know what those are and to follow your passions. And that may not be at the intersection of KR and machine learning. There are a lot of really impactful, good problems to work on that aren't within that area. So my advice is to read broadly, show good scholarship and literacy, and to build on the shoulders of others. Be generous with your ideas, be generous in helping others, and most of all, have fun. We're working in this great field and there's so many great problems to work on. So just enjoy yourself, and I think success will follow.